Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles Sabanson and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, and entertainment, and we'll give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a great show for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and sub to the channel. So as you guys know, for the longest time, the number one news breaker in NBA media was Adrian Wojnarowski, right? To the point, this guy broke so much news to the point where they started calling it Woj bombs. Whenever a Woj would drop a news, it would go all over the place. And usually, his reporting was usually right? So he used to work for ESPN. And then ultimately, I think he retired. He stepped away. And then he was replaced with Shams, right? So Shams now stepped into that role. Whenever they're breaking news, Shams is the guy you go to, especially around the trade deadline and all of that. Shams is the one keeping people updated. But then this morning, I came across a pretty disturbing article here from Awful Announcing with the following headline saying, Shams offers misleading report on Michael Beasley's status amid federal gambling probe. It's the second instance this summer of incomplete reporting by Karina around probes by the U.S. Attorney's Office into sports gambling. And I'm like, wait, what? This is a thing? Let's continue on. If you, like many sports fans, get your NBA news primarily from ESPN and Shams Karina, you likely believe the heavily scrutinized free agent guard Michael Beasley is out of the woods. Just before free agency started last month, news broke that Beasley was implicated in an investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office into illicit gambling on the NBA. Then suddenly, Shams popped up again last week with an update. Beasley was no longer a target of the federal gambling investigation. And by the way, I saw this post on the internet. I saw this flash across my timeline on Instagram. That continues on. There was a breaking news post on ESPN social channels, a push alert from the app, and a story on the network's website. It then continues on. Here's the post itself. Exactly. Breaking. Malik Beasley is no longer a target of the federal gambling investigation conducted by the Eastern District of New York. His attorney, Steve Haney, and Mike Schachter told ESPN. This potentially reopens free agency for one of the NBA's top shooters. It then continues on. Further reporting as other outlets outlined the reality of Beasley's situation. At Front Office Sports, longtime NBA reporter Alex Schiffer cited a source with knowledge of the federal investigation who told him that Beasley is indeed still a subject of the U.S. Attorney probe. The difference between Shams' phrase, a target, and a subject is largely technical. Then continues on. That was backed up by a subsequent coverage at the Detroit Free Press, who quoted the same lawyers that Shams spoke with. Except in the Free Press piece, the lawyers were pressed over Beasley's future. Beasley's lawyer, Steve Haney, told the Detroit newspaper that he had no idea if Beasley could ultimately be charged with a crime stemming from the investigation. Yet on Beasley's landing page on ESPN.com, Shams' initial report is the most recent update. The story is largely focused on Beasley's potential return to the NBA as a result of his supposed bill of innocence. This is the second time this summer that Shams' reporting around the gambling probe has offered an incomplete picture at ESPN. Around the same time that he broke this news that Beasley was being investigated, Shams appeared on the Pat McAfee show and was asked to provide an update on the status of Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, who was thought to have been implicated in the same investigation. At the time, Shams stated that Rozier had been cleared in advance of an offseason in which he was expected to be a trade option for the Heat. He said here, this is the quote, this is the image, we're not going to play the video. It says, Terry Rozier, as of now, has been cleared. He finished the season with Miami. There's nothing really active as of right now. Shams says Terry Rozier has been cleared for his betting scandal. This is posted by Heat Culture. It then continues on. Quickly, 3 separate NBA reporters clarified that Rozier was still under investigation by the feds. Shams' claims appeared to be specific to a separate NBA investigation that has not found evidence of wrongdoing by Rozier. Asked by Awful Announcing whether ESPN planned to offer a fuller recounting of Beasley and Rozier's legal status, ESPN wrote in a statement that we don't publicly discuss ongoing reporting. A separate investigation into point shaving in college basketball by U.S. attorneys at the Eastern District of Pennsylvania is nearing indictments, per Sports Illustrated. Former Toronto Raptors forward Jonte Porter, who was banned from the NBA for life over cooperation with the sports gambling operation, is set for sentencing in December. With multiple active federal investigation and crime punishments coming regularly, the stakes are high for an NBA reporter like Shams to be accurate and complete with his reporting. So far, ESPN's reporter's track record has been spotty around this still unfolding saga. Folks, that ain't good. This ain't good. Because in a business like this, and in a role like the role that Shams has, your reputation is everything that you got. I mean, really, that's all you got. And if you lose your reputation in terms of being a source that people deem to be credible, then how do you still even get to keep your job? How do we take you seriously at all? How is ESPN supposed to annex themselves towards your reporting? Now, to have this publication pointing this out and then also itemizing all of the different moments, and when you had other news sources fact-checking Shams, is not a good look. It's not a good look. But you also have to understand the position that Shams finds himself in. He is in a position where it's like this, you're moving at breakneck speed. I remember when Brian Windhorst talked about the fact that he would never want to do Adrian Wojnarowski's job. And I think at the time they were paying him $5 million a year. He said, you can keep it. I think another person that said it was, or maybe it would have been Chris Broussard. I think it was probably Chris Broussard that said it. I think it was Chris Broussard that said it, if I'm not mistaken. I remember one of those two saying it. Maybe Chris Broussard. I could be wrong. It might have been him. He's saying it's such a high pressure job where you always have to be plugged in to what's happening, and sometimes you have to rely on secondhand information and trust that, okay, this information that this guy is giving me, if I put it out there, it's true. Right? If I put it out there, it's true. And maybe Shams found himself caught up in a few situations like that. But as it pertains to this issue, this is a very serious matter because these are legal matters. We're not talking about somebody being traded or some locker room incident that took place or so-and-so person is thinking of leaving. Like those are minor things in comparison to these type of critical issues that these guys, like players like Malik Beasley and these guys have. I mean, these are serious issues. So when you're reporting on it, you want to be 100% correct. That's why I was watching somebody talking about Shannon Sharp the other day and what they're going to do, the next move and all this with his podcast. And I'm listening. I'm like, so what's the source here? Where are we citing this information from? And it just seemed to be a hunch. Like Shannon's going to do this. I'm like, do this based on what? Are you saying this is a hunch or do you have a source? If there are no sources connected to it, credible sources and multiple, I can't annex myself to things like that. But hey guys, you guys let me know what you think about this report, whatever you guys think. Leave your thoughts in the comments and we catch you on the next show.